The Arabian Peninsula in the early 7th century was a land of stark contrasts, vast deserts, vibrant oases, and a patchwork of fiercely independent tribes. For centuries it was a crossroads of trade and culture, but also a place of constant tribal warfare and shifting alliances. Into this world Islam emerged, proclaimed by the Prophet Muhammad in Mecca, offering a radical new vision, a single community united by faith in one God. This message challenged the power of the Quraysh, whose wealth depended on the Kaaba and its many idols. The rise of Islam threatened their influence, leading to years of persecution and the Muslims' migration to Medina in 622 CE, a turning point known as the Hijra. In Medina, the Prophet established the first Islamic state, forging a new community that quickly grew in strength. Medina itself was home to several Jewish tribes who initially coexisted with the Muslims under the Constitution of Medina. But political tensions led to the expulsion of the Banu Qaynuqa and Banu Nadir, many of whom resettled in the fortified oasis of Khaybar. Khaybar became a powerful center of opposition, its wealth and fortresses making it a formidable threat to Medina. The oasis was defended by a series of strongholds, some nearly impregnable, and became a hub for alliances against the Muslims. Plots and raids from Khaybar threatened the stability of the region and the security of the Muslim community. The existence of this hostile, well-defended oasis so close to Medina could not be ignored. The stage was set for a decisive confrontation that would reshape Arabia. The fate of the region now hung in the balance. The road to Khaybar began with the Treaty of Hudaybiyah in 628 CE, a truce with Mecca that freed the Muslims to address other threats. With their southern flanks secure, the Prophet turned his attention north to Khaybar, where exiled leaders were building alliances against Medina. Intelligence revealed that Khaybar was actively plotting with tribes like the Ghatafan to launch a massive assault. A preemptive campaign became a necessity for survival. The Muslims aimed to neutralize this imminent threat and end the raids that disrupted trade and endangered their community. In late spring, an army of 1,600 Muslims set out from Medina, moving swiftly and secretly to maintain the element of surprise. Their destination was kept hidden, and they avoided main routes to evade enemy scouts. The force was composed of veterans, their morale high after the Hudaybiyah truce. They marched not for conquest, but to secure their community's future. The campaign was about survival, stability, and ending a persistent threat. The stage was set for a confrontation that would determine the fate of northern Arabia. Khaybar was a network of fortified compounds scattered across a fertile valley divided into 3 main clusters. The defenders were well prepared, confident their strongholds could withstand any siege. The Muslim army arrived at night, catching the inhabitants off guard at dawn and forcing them into a defensive posture. The Prophet established a central camp and began systematically besieging the forts, starting with the most accessible. The fighting was grueling. Arrows and stones rained down, and the Muslims had to master siege tactics on the fly. Small skirmishes and sallies tested both sides' resolve. The Muslims worked to cut off supply lines and isolate each fortress. A key moment came when the Prophet diverted the Ghatafan tribe, Khaybar's main ally, by threatening their own territory. The Ghatafan abandoned their march to Khaybar, leaving the defenders isolated. This strategic move shifted the balance, allowing the Muslims to focus on the siege. The campaign became a test of endurance, strategy, and psychological warfare. One by one, the outer forts began to fall. The final showdown loomed at Khaybar's most formidable stronghold. The siege reached its climax at the fortress of Karmus, commanded by the renowned warrior Mahab. After repeated failed assaults, the Prophet declared he would give the banner to a man beloved by God and his messenger, Ali ibn Abi Talib. Though suffering from an eye infection, Ali was healed by the Prophet and entrusted with the assault. Ali's leadership electrified the Muslim ranks. At the gates, he faced Mahab in a legendary duel, ultimately striking down the champion of Khaybar. The fall of Mahab shattered the defenders' morale and turned the tide of battle. In the chaos, Ali's feats, like using a fortress gate as a shield, became legendary symbols of courage. Under his command, the Muslims surged forward and captured Karmus. This victory broke the back of Khaybar's resistance. The remaining forts quickly surrendered. The main phase of the battle was over. The Muslims had overcome their greatest challenge. The path to peace was now open. With Camus fallen, Khaybar's leaders sought terms to avoid further bloodshed. The Prophet agreed to negotiate, prioritizing peace and stability over destruction. The resulting treaty was unprecedented. Khaybar's people could remain on their land, keep their faith and live under Muslim protection. In return, they ceded ownership of the land but continued to farm it, giving half their annual produce to the Muslim state. This arrangement provided economic stability for both sides and set a new precedent for relations with non-Muslim communities. The weapons and fortresses were surrendered and the campaign ended peacefully. The Treaty of Khaybar established the concept of dhimma, protection and autonomy in exchange for tribute. This model would shape Islamic governance for centuries. The peace agreement allowed for coexistence and economic growth. The immediate threat to Medina was neutralized. A new era of pragmatic statecraft had begun. The victory at Khaybar transformed the Muslim community's fortunes. The steady revenue from Khaybar's produce provided economic security for the first time. The state could now support its poor, equip its army, and reward its veterans. The defeat of Khaybar sent shockwaves across Arabia, proving the Muslims were now a major power. Former enemies reconsidered their positions and new alliances formed. Many tribes sought peace or embraced Islam, accelerating the unification of Arabia. The morale and confidence of the Muslims soared. The principles established at Khaybar, protection, autonomy and tribute, became a cornerstone of Islamic governance. The aftermath was not just military victory, but the birth of a new economic and political reality. The stage was set for the rapid expansion of the Islamic State. The Battle of Khaybar was a turning point in early Islamic history. It marked the transition from a vulnerable community to a regional power. The campaign showcased strategic brilliance, from surprise marches to psychological warfare. The legendary feats of Ali ibn Abi Talib became enduring symbols of courage. Most importantly, the peace treaty set a precedent for tolerance and pragmatic governance. This model enabled the administration of vast, diverse territories in later centuries. Khaybar's legacy shaped Islamic law and statecraft for generations. The battle's echo resonates as a moment of faith, endurance, and transformation. It remains a pivotal chapter in the story of Islam and the making of a new world order in Arabia.